Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Maize and Blue Reviews Michigan Football Postgame Live, along with Jim Scarcelli. I'm Dennis Fithian. Number 1,000 for Michigan. They needed almost that many big plays to win it, Scar. They get scores from the offense, the defense, and special teams, 2 safeties, and they come away with a 31-24 victory. Michigan is 11-0 on the season. What a ball game.
Yeah, when's Leah going to graduate? I'm tired of dealing with that guy. He's a good player, but he always make a mistake or two. But Denny, 11-0, 2 years in a row, 11-0. That hasn't been done since Fielding H. Yost was in the house. So that's a great deal. 2 years in a row, 11-0. But Denny, I'm going to quote the great Schembechler. Okay, no man is more important than the team. No coach is more important than the team. No player is more important than the team. The team, the team, the team. And he used to also throw in, and that includes me. So Harbaugh is out. Sharon Moore jumps in, does a great job. We lost our linebacker coach. Rick Minner jumps in. We lost our left tackle. Hinton jumps in. We lost him, and Trente Jones jumps in. We lost Roman, and we got guys jumping in. We had Michael Barrett was out for a little bit. A lot of guys had to step up. We got a lot of guys that can play. We got coaches that can coach, and that gets all back to the great leadership of Coach Harbaugh. But it's a great win. A lot of good stuff to talk about. We knew it wasn't going to be easy, and we're right where we want to be.
Scar, you're right. You know, a lot of times you look back to last year and Illinois and how close that game was. And there's a lot of times where you look at the game before the Ohio State game and it's closer than you think. The question that will be in a lot of people's minds, and yeah, it was a tough game, but the way Michigan played here, does it make you think any differently about next week against Ohio State?
Not at all, man. Denny, we played 11 football games. And there's 11 different matchups, 11 different deals going on, and you don't always have everything click for you every game. You know, you take the whole body of work, and it'll be a different week, a different team. We're going to be home, and it's you can throw out whatever we did against some of these other teams as irrelevant. You know, and it just gets back to playing your best football game next Saturday. Everybody's going to have to play their best game, and we'll get into that game a little later, but let
me jump in. Michigan did not have Ladarius Henderson, their starting left tackle, so then they went with Miles Hinton. He ended up getting hurt. Trente Jones came in, so they're on their third string tackle, so we don't know what the situation is going to be there. J.J. McCarthy in this game, not very sharp, ends up 12 of 23, 141 yards, no touchdowns. He had the ankle injury from last week, and no bigger play when you think about him, missing Kojo on Michigan's first drive of the fourth quarter that you felt like would have given Michigan the breathing room. But let's start with McCarthy and what you see from him, and then that offensive line as now they make the turn and start thinking about the Buckeyes.
The thing I don't know, Denny, was how much of a win factor was going on in that game. Yeah, JJ made some mistakes. But the guy's not perfect. The pick in the end zone, it was a great drive to end the first half. Just throw the ball a little higher. You got the big tight end there. Throw it up there where our guy can get it. That was a mistake. And then, overthrowing Kojo there. So, JJ was average at best. We're so used to seeing great things. We didn't run him, but he was he was average, okay? He did nothing that was spectacular. As a team, it was good enough. I thought our running backs played good, but Danny, no turnovers, right? No turnovers?
Well, Corum fumbled one.
He did fumble it, but Big Keegan jumped on it. So
correct.
You always got a chance when you do that, man. So we secured the ball pretty good. He did drop it, and Keegan was right there to save him. But Maryland. Anyway, quarterback play, Denny, was average at best. Running back play. Corum did some pretty good things. He fell forward, but they stopped us often on third down, stopped us, made us punt. It was very frustrating in the second half for the Michigan fans that we just come up short, having to punt. But the biggest running the game, I guess, would be the final one to end it. So we can, Corum, and that's the little things that Corum will give you, the weight room, the big, strong kid. And that was when we really needed it. Donovan played a little bit. I don't think he picked up. I think that one blitz was on Donovan. They come off the edge. We'll see that on film. But Mullings played a little bit. Running back play was probably average. I believe we have the two best. I think our tight end room, Denny, is the best in the Big Ten. I think it is. With those two guys, we've got two really good tight ends. And Loveland is blocking now. He's doing everything he can. We know he can catch the ball. So our tight end play was pretty good. We ran him on the ISO. I don't know if you know what that means. We put him in the backfield and had him lead through on linebackers. Certain teams, we do that, and they must have felt that was something good for this team. So we ran plenty of that with our tight ends.
How about, you already mentioned Talia and Michigan, they get up 23-3 in the second quarter, and it's looking like this game's going to be maybe a laugher. And obviously it ended up not being that way. The Terps, they come up and they get a 14-play, 75-yard drive, and then they get the first of what was going to be three Terp tush pushes down there. And, the final one ends up being in the third quarter when they make it a 5-point game, 29-24. But, Michigan's defense, they had a lot of players that came up big. Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, made some big plays in the second half. What about the Michigan secondary? Talia really, it wasn't, you can't really go to one guy and say, oh, well, they were going at Wallace because they went over at Will Johnson and they got him. They got Sandristow, but Sandristow ends up coming up with 2 interceptions. What about the Michigan secondary and how you feel about how they played overall in this game, Scar?
Well, just in general, the defense, Denny, I never felt comfortable against this team, 23-3, whatever the heck. I never felt comfortable because I know what was on the other side of that of the ball there, that offense. But in general, their offensive line moved us at times. They did some good things, man. Early in the game, they were moving us. I thought Gaddis called some good stuff. Leah had the turnover early on. Barrett scooped it up and scored. Minter did a lot of things, mixing it up, multiple stuff, different things. We didn't get pressure. Often we did not get pressure. Leah's a tough kid. He can run and throw. He's tough to defend, Denny. Defending this team, it was like watching TCU all over again. They do a lot of the same stuff. Maryland is one of the teams that took that TCU game and they analyzed it up and down. Okay, and what were the things that worked against Michigan? And they did a lot of that stuff. Okay, so they had a great plan. They got some darn good skill players. The quarterback's tough. The running back's tough. And, but we didn't give them nothing easy on the ground. We made them work for it. And that running back is tough. But you're right. I thought, Kenny Grant, again, the big sack at the end was huge.
Yes, it was.
Huge. We rotate a lot of guys in there, which is good. You rotate the guys so that when somebody gets banged up, you've got depth. So Mason Graham was tough. Jenkins was. Our D-line did some good things, but a lot of the movement they had is that offense empties you out. They spread you out. I don't know how many times they come out empty, Denny, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, and they would convert. And it's tough to defend empty with that kid back there who can run and throw. Anyway, getting back to the secondary, a lot of it is what they do. They put pressure on your secondary. And, Wallace did some good things, and then he struggled at times. And, our all Big Ten Johnson did some things. And Sanderson made some mistakes, but then he had the 2 nice picks. So I think we got to evaluate the defense as a whole, Denny, because a lot of it is what they did. They spread the field. But if there's anything that we have to like how we rotate guys, because I was concerned when Barrett was out, but he went back in the game. We need all 3 of those linebackers. We need all 3 of them next week. And there's and it was good to see. I was wondering who would have been our 4th linebacker, and it looked like Rolder was the kid they put in there. He made that nice play on the goal line. So I was trying to get a feel for who do they think is the fourth linebacker. So, a lot of good things from the defense because our offense didn't get, our offense did not seal the game like we would have hoped they would have in the second half. Denny, our edge players, one thing our edge players did, Denny, is we did a great job keeping contained. We had a lot of sacks and a lot of things that I think our coaches worked on it. This kid can run. Let's try to keep him inside the defense. And I think all of us, all of them did a pretty good job of keeping the quarterback inside the defense.
Yeah, I hear you. It's a 5-point game going into the fourth quarter, and the Terps get their first possession of the fourth quarter, and that's when Mason Graham came up with a big sack on 3rd and 13. Michigan got great field position at the 50, but that's when JJ missed Kojo. And I was wondering about Sharon Moore just calling a run on 3rd and 6. I thought that part, it felt a little cute last week. And of course, when you win, you're like, yeah, run it on 3rd and 11, whatever. But on the 3rd and 6, I thought, man, this is going to catch up to him. But the defense, Kenneth Grant gets the sack. Sandristow gets the interception. And then there's the intentional grounding there at the end. I think you also have to give it up to Tommy Doman, who was popping those punts and putting them right down there within the 5, a complete game. I know coaches, I know you appreciate that from the special team standpoint. Doman's been money all year long putting them down there. And they got a block punt, earlier in the game. So that was pretty money there by the special teams.
Yeah, we could talk special teams real quick. I thought we outcoached them in that field. We've done that pretty regularly against them, Denny. We've had good success in the special teams against Mike Loxley. So that's coaching, and that's not by accident. Our punt coverage, it bugs me sometimes, Denny, when we punt from the 50 and we put it in the end zone. So we did that one time. But then he also did stick it down on the 1-yard line one time also. So our punt team was pretty good. They returned one on us, but they had to re-kick it. But our punt return team, which ended up being a punt block, I wish they would have showed that. They never really gave us a good replay of how we went about blocking it. But that stuff is good to get on film. You return, you block, make the punt team defend all of that, and that's all good stuff. That we outplayed them, we outcoached them in the special teams. Danny, real quick on the offense, some other things. We ran our counter tray. We blocked our gap stuff, block down, kick out. We ran it a lot of different ways, and we did some pretty decent things. Early in the game, it was nice to see us really get movement, and when we needed 1 yard, and we did that, and we did it at the end of the game to get that 1 yard. But a lot of gap stuff. We pulling one guy, pulling two guys, sometimes pulling three guys. A lot of that was in for this game. You're right, Danny. You make a good point. Okay, last week we ran it 32 times in a row. Okay, you get in this game, and even though you get up at the end of the game, you just cannot be you cannot be stubborn. Sometimes maybe we were a little stubborn with saying we're going to keep pounding, we're going to keep trying to get that run. You got to get back to that open mindset, which defenses don't want to defend. Is I don't know what the hell they're going to do. And that's when we're at our best, when, they talked about being 50-50 at the beginning of the year, right? And that's what I'm thinking, even though, look, I have absolutely no problem with that deep pass, at the end of the game that we overthrew or we didn't complete, but I have no problem with that. It's the right call. They're loading up on our run, loading up and run defense. So I was totally on board with that. We just didn't execute it, but, we got in I-backs on the goal line, did some things out of I-backs. Speaking about the offensive line, Hinton played like a kid who was pissed off and wanted to be in there. He'd been sitting on the bench for 8 weeks, and he did some decent things. One thing about Hinton, man, he plays hard, and same with Trente Jones. They play hard, they play tough, they play physical, and he had that hold at the end. But it gets back to why. Sometimes it bothered me as we went through the year why those guys didn't get more reps, Trente Jones and Hinton. And I just know that's the mentality with some of these guys. They don't like to rotate offensive linemen.
Well, compared to other teams, I think in all of college football, I would think that Michigan got more reps from their tackles than anybody out there. They were playing them left and right. BN is getting up here and talking about Barnhart can't be the starting right tackle. Well, I mean, who are you going to put in there? I mean, you don't know about Ladarius Henderson. You don't know about Miles Hitton. So, you start to talk about putting in your Jeff Piercy, for Ohio State. I mean, what are you talking about there? You got to go with, who brought you. I wonder, Scar, when it comes down to J.J. McCarthy going into this game, we know that he hurt his ankle last week and he wasn't running this week. I think that would have been part of the game plan. Like, look, let's, he wasn't part of any keepers, design runs, scrambling out there. And even when he did scramble, Maryland had him dead to rights a few times. And it looked like, I don't know if you give Maryland credit, but in other games, he was more elusive. So, maybe that ankle was bothering him a little bit, and that would have been part of the game plan. And that really it doesn't totally limit you, but it limits you on what you can do, especially when you get into a dogfight, you get into a good team. When you got McCarthy and, you're making him one-dimensional where he's just going to throw the ball. And then, he wasn't sharp when he forced the one in the first half and then he forced the other one and it was an interception and it got to him a little bit. And, just like Bowling Green, you can say, hey, maybe it was a blessing in disguise. Because if McCarthy plays like he did today, next week, I can sit here and tell you that there's a good chance that Michigan could lose the game. Now, we've seen him bounce back and not play. He hasn't had back-to-back games like that. So, how much was his ankle? How do you feel about him? Those are the kind of things that are going to be talked about all week long. And we don't know. We don't know how he's feeling there. But if I had to guess, I would think that, JJ is going to be out there, back to, running and throwing next week because there is no tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think his ankle was that bad, Danny. They did call one run. They ran one RPO. He just read it wrong. Remember when they got him in the backfield? He should have handed the ball off. There would have been something there. So I think, they did call a play where he could have ran the football, but he misread it and they drilled him in the backfield. But those predetermined runs are all on the table again next week. The Penn State game plan in terms of running him is in the book, and they know they're gonna have to defend that every single play next week. So that'll help our offense.
Scar, I was going to ask you about Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore he was the offensive, he's the play caller and he's the head coach. So he had a lot on his plate in this particular game. And this thing, got wild. So a lot of people were coming at him and there's somebody saying, Harbaugh matters. Yeah, of course, having Jim Harbaugh, it's going to matter. That was one thing when we saw that Harbaugh was going to be suspended today and then next week. Most people, myself included, were like, oh, they're fine against Maryland. But next week, and you get down and you have games where every single thing is magnified and everybody's freaking out. Everybody's going bonkers. That's when you need the calm hand at the wheel. Well, Sharon Moore today, he had all of that. I mean, after it was 23-3, Maryland starts drive of the field. Talia catches fire. Suddenly the defense doesn't look like they can stop anybody. JJ looks like he did against Bowling Green. Michigan's not really running the ball. I mean, they're in jeopardy. I mean, it was a tight game. It became one of these pressure cooker games. And the analytics say, go for the 2 points. That's when Samaj Morgan on that reverse to make it 29, to get it Michigan to 29, and you're thinking, okay, why not kick the extra point there, go for 2. He goes for 2. So there are a lot of decisions that that you had from Sharon Moore. What did you think of? As he directed everything as head coach, he ends up getting the W. That's the most important thing. But also, he was the play caller. Man, what a day for Sharon Moore. He survives it. Yeah. But he had a lot of people coming after him all game long. And even
you go on the road, this is a good team, man. I mean, we struggled with them last year. We struggled with them. That game wasn't won till the end last year. They got a good quarterback. They got players, man. We lose our top receiver first drive of the game, second drive of the game. So if there's anything that really it hits you, the impact of Roman Wilson. He's our first down guy. Him and and Loveland. Those are big time guys that we need. We need Roman healthy, man. So, was the wind an issue? Roman out, but I thought I thought the play calling was. We got to a little rut there at a time when I thought we were trying to pound it a little too much. You got to remember what they talked about at the beginning of the year. Make them defend, run, and pass. Try to be 50-50. That's when we're at our best, when we are the first offense. I don't know why we didn't at least. Well, actually, we couldn't come out with 7 tackles because we didn't have them. They were banged up. So that would have been nice to see that. I thought we should have, but then again, I don't know that we went for it on 4th and 8, Denny, from the 28, and apparently the win we can't tell watching it on TV, but it looks like we would have tried to kick that. But Denny, I tell you, talking about Sharon Moore, I think mentally he's a stabilizing force. He's a motivating. We're unified. Jim just makes the handoff from the hotel, and then Jim will be there on the plane on the way home. So there's that short time where he's not the coach, but I heard Sharon Moore on ESPN this morning, and he just said all the right things. He talked about Minter running the defense, and and offensively, it's still a collaboration, and he'll make some of those big calls, the 4th down stuff, and I would have gone for it. There was another one I think I would have gone for, but I think mentally we're a unified team. And we've had 2 games under our belt with him leading it. So I think mentally, when we get into this game this week, it'll be you against that guy across from you, and where Coach Harbaugh is going to be very, very minimalized.
Yeah, I was shocked to see Michigan going for it on the 4th and 8 where they were going for it, but the other ones. To Loveland for 11. JJ was pretty sharp on that one, and then obviously the last one, Michigan ends up being 3 for 3 on 4th downs there, and I didn't have a problem. And as I was watching it, thinking about, well, do you want to go up 12? You're up 12, you go up 13 or 14. I get it. Going for the 2 points there. That's what the chart said as well. So. I know you can argue about that all day long. People don't like, when it gets to the math, they don't like it when you don't make it. I know that a lot of time. I don't know about throwing, that was AJ Burner, right? That wasn't AJ Green, that Michigan had over there. I don't know, you're throwing a fade, to Burners, not the play call that I would have come up with, but hey, that's the decision that they had to make there. So there's a lot of little things that you could start nitpicking, but Scar, I would say this is the kind of game. Sure, I like, Michigan, rolling Minnesota 52-7 or, beat Michigan State by 49-0 and, all of that. But, this is really what makes college football. This is a game that we've talked about a lot of decisions. There are probably another 20 or 30 decisions that you could say, hey, you could do this, you could do that, pass, throw, go for it on 4th down. What you're playing on defense, what happens when your defense, is giving it up here, trying to manage the clock, playing at the special teams, when are you going to kick it, all of them. I would just say, this is why I love college football. It's great. Now Michigan ends up winning it. If they're sitting here, they're on the other side, I'd say, hey, man, it was a great game. And but, nobody would be wanting to hear that. But it was, this is the kind of game where a lot of people are saying, I'm too old for this. I can't handle it. It's starting to make me feel like, everything's going on. This is the part, and it gets back to the opening question is how does this affect how you feel about Ohio State? This is like the NCAA tournament. It doesn't matter how you win today's game. You survive, you're advanced. Michigan's 11-0. Scar said it. This is the first time, they're undefeated like this since Yost. You're talking about they're in position to, beat Ohio State and have a perfect regular season in back-to-back years. That part, if you're just focusing in on that, is amazing. So anyway, they got the job done. Now, earlier in the season when, Harbaugh said he didn't care if they beat Bowling Green by 1 point, I was rolling my eyes a little bit on that. But today, I would have taken a 1 point win. I'll take a 1 point win next week. So great game. This is what college football is all about, even if you didn't like how hairy it got out there.
Yeah, and our kids are mentally tough. And again, the 2 weeks now, I don't want to keep beating up without the coach, but they're going to be used to it. We play 5 games without them there. So I think it's, mentally tough guys, go on the road. Probably this guy might be the last quarterback I want to go against in the Big Ten other than J.G. McCarthy. He's always known for making a few mistakes, but I'm just glad we're done with him. He made the mistake with the safety in the end zone. We had a nice little stunt by 55 and McGregor there later in the game. And, the thing about what they do, again, I'm just going to finish up on defense, Denny. They always have every darn snap. They have the mesh point, the RPO, quarterback run possibility. And that's what just slows you down. And that's what makes everything difficult defending Maryland, so much like what TCU was doing. But big plays by Zero. The first interception was huge. Momentum, he slowed the momentum down. And then the second one was big. Our offense couldn't do nothing with it, which was disturbing. But Maryland they're just a tough matchup for us, Denny. I just want to finish up with our defense. They're a tough matchup for our defense. They do a good job. And I'm just glad we're done with them, man.
All right. And so now, that's the defense. And maybe we could go player by player there. And they're going to see not the quarterback next week, but they will see the receivers better than anything that they saw today. But, we know that. We know Ohio State, as much as all year long, everybody's like, oh, they suck. They can't do this or that. It's going to be the toughest game that they have all year long. And, this is why, back in the day, Scar, if you're old enough, I don't know how old you have to be, 40, this is what it's all about. You get to the end of the year and you say all kinds of things about Ohio State, and then this is what you want. You want it for a championship. And, here it is, the chance to go play for the conference championship. And as we know now, I'll go on and play in the college football playoff. So it's all there. This is what Michigan wanted. This is not how they wanted to do it with everything going on, but they have this opportunity. And just as I'll make a statement about all the suspensions and everything else, if they could just get through this next game, then this year, sure, they're going to have a lot of things and people will be talking about Harbaugh and everything else, but he'll be back, after next week. So, that part is all wild, but it's a piece to it. And, they definitely got some experience, everybody, without the head coach over there. So this is now the 5th game that they've had to play.
But he's there all week in practice, Denny. This Ohio State game.
That's true.
The Ohio State game, number one thing, let's secure the football, and the crowd has got to be a factor. We need the crowd. We got to execute on offense. We got to do the things we did against Penn State. Find out what those, if we can have 6 offensive linemen, hopefully everybody's healthy. We need Henderson. We need all the offensive linemen, and find out what little shifts, formations, little tweaks can give us a first down, like it did against Penn State. So the offensive coaches have to really help our players out, and our players got to play their best game, man. Bo used to say, JJ, you got to outplay McCord. Corum, you got to outplay Henderson. You got to outplay the guy at your position. Denny, Junior, you got to outplay Eichenberg. McGregor, you got to outplay Tumalua. I don't know how to say his name, but you know which guy I'm talking about. And really, that's how it's got to be. You got to play your best game. You got to outplay the guy that's playing your position. Let's secure the ball. Coaches on both sides of the ball, give our players a chance. And then on defense, man, let's just foundation of what we do best, and let's adjust to all. They don't do as many exotic things that we do. Okay, but we got to give them different looks like we've always done. Be gap sound. Let's try to confuse. Obviously you got to stop that great receiver, Denny, and we've got to find ways to throw different looks at him. So one time it looks like we're in man, but he's got help underneath, or we've got combo and this, that, or whatever. We got to try to confuse the coverage, because obviously we know you got to stop that guy, because it really starts with him. And let's try to confuse their quarterback. But let's be great in the red zone against Ohio State. That's where we've always been pretty good. 2 years ago at our place, they were settling for field goals. And that's a big thing again, is let's get them settling for field goals. But I think we're going to have everybody healthy, because all those, Hinton walked off the field. I got to believe he'll be okay. And Barrett was back in the game. So, I think we're going to have a 100% healthy squad. And you get 100,000, 110 out there playing for a championship, those injuries go away, Denny. Whatever little nicks some of those guys have.
Yeah, I know everyone is optimistic about Roman Wilson. They said it was precautionary. I mean, that's what Jenny Taft, that's what the Fox crew was saying, until he goes through and has to, there's a procedure. It's not really out of Michigan's hands. Once he's able to go through, if he can get cleared, then, I feel optimistic as you sit here right now. Not very optimistic that he was standing there in street clothes, but then when everybody said it was precautionary, you start feeling like that. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Not that we'll hear a whole lot about that, but that's going to be the big thing, how he wakes up, and if he doesn't have any symptoms and all that, as we've seen with brain injuries in the past. I don't know, Scar. Last year, Michigan didn't have Blake Corum. He got hurt in the game before Ohio State, and they had to rely on Donovan Edwards. And there were a lot of people, myself included, said, "Man, it's nice to have Donovan Edwards, but you're really up against it without Blake Corum." And, Michigan went down there and they played their best game of the year. And I think they'll need their best game of the year next week to beat Ohio State. But I think that I think they can play that way. And I think that they can prevail against a Buckeye team. The part about this year's OSU team, McCord's been all right, but, he's not their vintage QBs that they have had. He's no Stroud, or just keep going down the list of these signal callers that they had, these fabulous players that you're talking about, beat the guy at your position. I think JJ McCarthy can play better than McCord next week. So I'll start there with Michigan's chances. And
their offenses, they've changed. They're offensively, they've changed. I don't know if it's because of the quarterback, but they were a 3-1, 2-2, 4 wide team, very few formations, put a tight end there with 3 wides. They just spread the field, great athletes, play in space, quarterback that's accurate, good running back, huge off. That's what they do. Where Michigan is formationing and shifting and 7 linemen and tight ends and fullbacks. And we're doing a bunch of different stuff, and it's paid off the last 2 years. But I think, again, I've been watching Ohio State all year. They blended more of the Michigan type stuff into their offense. Okay, so I don't know if it's, they say, well, this kid isn't that good a quarterback. And yeah, maybe he isn't as good as some of those guys in the past. But a lot of it is what they want to do on offense now. And I think a big part of that is to help their defense, see the stuff they're going to need to do to beat Michigan. So I anticipate a low-scoring game. And, it's going to be every yard, every first down is going to be a struggle. And we just play our best game and do the things we've been doing. And we got we'll have a great plan. Coaches got to have their best game plan, man. And players got to play their best.
If you're out there watching and you have a question for Scar, you have a question about today's game, next week's game, now is the time to get it in. We do have some reaction coming from the Michigan locker room, and also what Sharon Moore has had to say following the game. He was a lot different out. I did see him out on the field with Jenny Taft at the postgame. He said he was going to clean it up. He told his mom no swearing out on the field after the game. But Sharon Moore says that Ladarius Henderson will be back next week. So
good.
He said that in the postgame. Miles Hinton has no structural damage on his knee. He added that. Others on Roman Wilson, Moore said, quote, he was fine, but the medical staff ruled him out. We'll see what that means for next week. So there you go.
So that means, Denny, that the 7 offensive lineman package is in. The Buckeyes have to defend it. We have a full receiver unit. They got to deal with that. So all those little things matter when you're putting your game plan together. All our tight ends are ready, and we got a full squad.
I do wonder, and this will be pointed out this week, if you look at the splits from when Jim Harbaugh is the head coach and Sharon Moore is the head coach for when J.J. McCarthy is the quarterback. Not great numbers today for J.J., not great numbers last week. And then obviously he didn't have good numbers against Bowling Green. I mean, so, he had the stinker against Bowling Green, didn't really throw the ball at all last week. And then today, struggled a little bit too. Does that have anything to do without having, I don't know, if his security blanket with Jim Harbaugh over there, being able to tell him and work with him, that is something, because in all the other games, McCarthy is fabulous. I'll let you answer that question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The only guy that can answer that question in terms of that comfort level is JJ. We could speculate. That's a great, that's the thing about Jim Harbaugh, man. He started 3 years at Michigan. He played, he knows mentally how to get his quarterbacks ready. Okay, so he has that, man-to-man communication. I didn't play quarterback. I don't know what a quarterback needs mentally to be right before a game, and maybe that is something that, is a factor. I don't know, but JJ's the only guy that can answer that. And hopefully Jim can give enough of that connection and that love as he's waving to him from the hotel that'll carry over. But Jay's going to have to do it. And hopefully that's not an issue.
We do have some questions for you. We'll get to those momentarily. Also, Sharon Moore on J.J. McCarthy said, quote, "He hadn't thrown a pick since Bowling Green. Everyone's hard on him, but since then he's played almost perfect." Mike Barrett, who you mentioned, came back in the game. He says he has an AC sprain, but said, quote, "Nothing a little Tylenol can't fix." Here's a question from Vince. Scar, do you think Maryland exposed some weaknesses in our pass defense today?
Maryland, listen, Denny, Maryland does what they do. They do good stuff, okay? And everybody can't duplicate Leah, okay? They run what they run. Ohio State doesn't. Ohio State ran a lot of that stuff with Fields, the quarterback keep stuff that gives you a problem. They didn't run it with Strode, but anyway, the things that were exposed are a lot. It has more to do with Maryland's system than our players. And that system is gone, and we got a different system. And we got one real good receiver and we got to stop a run game, though, Danny. We're going to face the best running back we've seen all year. Henderson is good. This is the best running back. We've beaten them the last 2 years, okay? They haven't had a kid like that at running back. This kid is good. We're going to face the best receiver and the best running back that we faced all year. We got to tackle this kid. He's fast, he's elusive, and he's tough. He'll run you over, he'll run around you, and he'll make you miss. He's the last kind of running back I want to face. So even though a play might not be perfectly blocked, he's like Corum, man. He'll run you over, he'll make you miss. So, we got to be real good tackling this kid.
Good point. Joe Klatt during the game, or maybe it was Gus Johnson just asking Joe Klatt. He said, Maryland's taking these, and it's a West Coast offense, a product of it, hitting these short passes. And Johnson's observation was, that's what Michigan does. They'll give you the short pass. And he said teams have not been able to stay with that or stick with it. And that was, I don't know if it was early in the game, but it wasn't late in the game that Gus Johnson made that observation. So will Ohio State look at that and maybe go to a shorter passing game? Of course, Talia later on, he started lighting it up, and, he hit a 3rd and 11. He hit a 24-yard pass. He hit a 33-yard pass, for that third time. The 33-yard pass was down to the 1. Looked like it was a touchdown before they got their third tush push in there to make it the 5-point game. But what do you think about Ohio State maybe going to, not necessarily a West Coast offense, but a short passing game that Johnson and Klatt we're talking about?
I don't know. They are what they are. They're going to mix. We won't sit and take away the deep or take away the short or play zone or play man or play. We mix it up. It's what we do. We mix it up. We don't let anybody get a beat on what we're doing. We did it today. And they made us, how many darn 3rd down and longs did they convert, Denny? We get them 3rd and long, and the kid makes a great catch in front of Wallace is right there. They made plays at key times, And just because they did, that doesn't mean Ohio State's going to do the same. Again, that's a different offense, man. So I'm not worried about it from that standpoint.
All right, one final question for you. It's Kent wants you to talk about the protection for JJ and then play calling next week to find ways to protect him and maybe keeping the running back and the run game hitting the perimeter. What do you think about that?
Well, maybe we have to run the RPO and get I would run JJ early in that game next week. I want Ohio State. I want their edge players, their linebackers, whoever's responsible for quarterback on the RPO, the quarterback keep, the zone, the read stuff. I want them to see it early, so that they know it's in, and we are ready, willing, and able to run it. So that every single down, in their mind, they got to say, is that play there? Those things can help your pass protection. The predetermined quarterback runs, the shorter passing, or leaving tight ends in. You're going to look at that. The one sack today, I think it was on Donovan Edwards, Denny. Joe Klatt's blaming the tackle. The tackles, I think we were in a gap protection, and we just did not block it right. We had two guys blocking inside, and no one's blocking that safety off the edge. I mean, we'll look at it. Maybe somebody will ask the coach the question on that, but that was just poor protection. We didn't block the right guy,
okay. That's it. Well, it has come time now to get our final points in on this game as Michigan survives 31-24. They win it. They get program win number 1,000. And, today was a nail biter, but it was a fabulous game. It's what I love about football. There's so many different things that are going on out there. And, I don't like it being where it feels like, you're going to lose the game. And 1,000 because of a nice round number and nobody else has it in college football is really nice. But now that I think about big games, Scar and everyone, and it might be a little greedy, but yeah, I'm thinking about 1,001 next week against Ohio State. And then I'm thinking about 1,002 in the Big Ten title game, which would give Michigan, into the semifinal, which would be 1,003. And then January 8th down at NGL in Houston for the national championship game. That would be 1,004. That's what's in front for this team. That's what we have thought all year long. And, it didn't look like, there's parts of the fourth quarter. People are like, they're not even going to win this game. What are you talking about? They don't look like, a team that's going to win 1,004. They're on track. They have a shot. And at this point, it's just about survive and advance. I don't really care. I'll talk about it, but it's not that I don't care. But I hear what people are saying. But just getting the W now, late November, is when it counts. And moving forward, obviously, that's all it counts. So hell of a game today for Michigan to do it without Jim Harbaugh, without their left tackle, and without their quarterback, having his best game. But, all of them, I think JJ, from what I've seen from him, I'll put my money on number 9 next week to come up with a big game against the Buckeyes. And I think the Michigan's going to beat Ohio State next week at Michigan Stadium. And I think they're going to go 12-0.
Right on, brother. Yeah, Denny, I think we did a great job. Our coaches, a lot of stuff going on with these players. And I'm going to just briefly, there's off the field drama, man. You lose imagine if you're a linebacker. I mean, I could, if I played for, I had the same position coach for 5 years. If he's all of a sudden gone, fired the day before we go on the road, these kids have been tested, mentally tough, challenged. So Jim has got to keep them in the submarine all week and focus on this game, man. I just want a little message to Coach Harbaugh, man. Just, it's like what he's going through. It's like sudden change. We just fumbled on our end and we're up against it. And we got to survive until we get you back on the field, man. And you can drive us down to win a football game, man. But Michigan's behind you, Coach Harbaugh. We're all behind you. You're our coach, and we're all standing. And there's a lot of people that are going to hate us. Pete Feinbaum and the boys are going to hate us. But Michigan's behind you. Michigan people are sticking together, and the enemy's out there. But we're going to keep grinding, keep swinging. As JJ says, we're going to keep smashing. And hopefully the bleeding has stopped, Denny, with Partridge, Stallions. Hopefully that's the end of the bleeding. and that's that topic. But Denny, you just like I said, everybody's got to play their best game. We have a great week of practice, and home field has got to be a factor, and everything's we know what they do on defense, which is big. We had a whole spring now, in fall camp. We didn't know what Jim Knowles was going to do. Now we got a pretty good idea. And Denny, those 7 offensive linemen, 6 offensive linemen, it neutralizes some of the stuff that they do. Me and Jerry this week are going to look at some Ohio State stuff, and I think that some of those formations and some of that shifting, and maybe some little tweaks to the shifting, tweaks to the formation, can continue to give our guys an advantage. We're going to play our best game. On to Indianapolis.
I like it. That's Jim Scarcelli. And for all you programs out there, any of you without Sid, you could cast the first stone. Go ahead and line up. And I don't think anybody's going to be throwing anything. So there you go.
Scar, we got your back, Coach Harbaugh.
We'll talk with you on Monday, Scar.
Go Blue.
There he is.